There's a place where I live known as the Pines. It's been home to me for a very long time. Its people are humble, this you will find. There's no class distinction, we're one of a kind. I think the greatest thing about growing up on the Pines estate is I know I can be with anybody and feel that I can belong anywhere. And there's, I don't feel superior to anybody or inferior to anybody.
We formed our own little community where we all looked after each other. We all knew our neighbours, and if you went out and left your house, you knew someone would be watching and keeping an eye to make sure that, there was no hassles while you weren't there. All the kids played together and grew up together.
Well, the community life was really very good. I mean, people established rapport amongst themselves, and there was a very strong sense of community. Those early years certainly contributed. There was strong bonds of similarity of view or background with people in those days. And you've also got to remember that in 1960, those people had contact with the war years. So we all came from a background that we could identify with. There were common strong links that people had of hardship and of being workers. As I say, our family was working class, absolutely working class.
The Pines itself is a little bit like a village. It's a very inclusive place. Life here for our family was the school and the church, and that's where our community was. And you had this feeling of belonging.
When they first came here in the 50s and 60s, they were new owners. Just like if the young of today get a new house, they did everything. The garden was immaculate. The house was immaculate.
If you bought a housing commission home in those days, when the dollar changed, it became $9 a week to pay it off. It was unreal, and the people here are gorgeous. There was no class distinction, none of that crap. We were all the same.
We moved here in 1963. Dad got a house here through the Housing Commission because we had 5 kids. I think the minimum was 3. You had to have to move in here, so we're a big family. Moved into Hoop Court, number 4 Hoop Court, and very quickly that court filled up and houses had kids, and every house you're in had 3 or 4 to 5 to 10 kids, and it grew from there.
Everyone that moved into the Pine Estate then was, you had to have 3 kids virtually to get a house. I think in our Crescent itself there was something like 63 kids. We had no problems whatsoever with any kids. I lived there for 30 years and never had any problems whatsoever. Never used to lock the doors, never used to lock your car, no problems.
Every second house was wooden framed and brick veneer, so the houses, they would be being built around you. And after the builders had left, you'd get all the building material and you'd build cubby huts, and they'd come back the next day and there'd be giant towers built out of the floor planks and all that. We must have annoyed the hell out of them, but you'd play on those sites, and then the trenches, they were digging all the trenches for all the sewerage pit and all that sort of stuff, but they were just trenches for us to run around in and play hidey and all those sort of games you play in summer. And you'd start off with 3 or 4 kids and you'd bump into kids from other streets and they'd join in, and before you had 20 and 30 kids doing those cubby huts and playing around the work sites and all that. It's probably completely dangerous, and in this day and age it wouldn't be allowed, but we did it.
Yeah, it was a really good atmosphere. I mean, we'd play cricket in the streets, we'd turn around and you play footy on the roads. You put your jumpers down for your goals like that, and then the other bloke's driveway might be the goals, and everybody gave you your ball back. You get the odd one that wouldn't give it back, but they eventually do. It was good fun. It was easy fun. It was good fun. Look, there was just kids everywhere. It was easy to make friends. You rode bikes. You kicked footy. You had cricket matches. It was great.
On a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd go over there in our white shorts and our white Dunlop shoes and white white T-shirts, and we'd all line up, all the kids there. There would be nothing to have, 40 or 50 kids out there on 6 o'clock in the morning at the front of his house waiting for the lifts to come to take you to the cricket games. You'd go and train on the oval. There'd be hundreds of kids, all broken up into their little age groups. So by the time you got through to the under 15, 16, 17, those sort of age, you were very tight-knit. You knew everybody.
The immigrants coming from UK and Scotland and places like that, those that settled here were determined to have a soccer club, and they actually physically paid for that building and they physically built the basic structure. And that was long before I came here. There's a real community message there.
It was 40 odd years ago that the Pines Soccer Club was formed for this community. It didn't matter if your parents were working on the docks or the wharfs or wherever they worked. They were actually staunch. And that's why the places like the Pines Soccer Club was so successful. It becomes so community-based, but it also became a place for safety for the kids and to give them something as well. Back in when I was there was over 300 kids that were junior soccer players. And that's basically what it was started up for.
None of the kids went without. Some of the kids would come to the footy and, might not have any boots or anything like that, And some families that have got 4, 5, 6 kids find it very, very hard to supply gear for them, and they'd finish up with a pair of footy boots and something from somewhere. And
I think I was at the footy club, 7 years of age, walking down with plastic boots. You didn't get a game for probably 2 years. They gave you a jump, you sat on the bench and played kick to kick. Realistically, those early days. Yeah, and the competitiveness of getting to sides, footy sides and that, you went hard. And I'll tell you now, you wouldn't want to shirk an issue. And what I mean by that is be scared to go into a pack or dive on the ball. You had to dive on the footy and win your own ball, so to speak. And if you didn't go in and get your own ball, there was a lot of shit hung on you, I'll tell you that now.
Yeah, no, I remember going there on a Friday night, and there were literally hundreds of boys and girls either on the oval or in the club rooms doing calisthenics or playing boxing, doing boxing training, all that sort of stuff was amazing.
I think there were always people who stood out of the community and really pushed for improvements. I think Pines people were determined. They didn't give up and they didn't back off, but with great persistence and a lot of community input. And that's where the sense of community comes from, is that people had to band together and they had to share their resources and they had to share their strengths to get things to happen and to make change. The Pines is a story of all of those things. I've long recognised that the Pines is as good an area to live as anywhere. It's got a great sense of community, there are great services here, there are many facilities here.
The Pines has a connection with its people. I don't know what makes it that way, but all the way through, even today, they have a connection with one another and they stick together if they want something. And I think that's the most prominent thing about the Pines. It's separate from Frankston, if you like. It's got its own postcode. And I think that's what makes it stick together.
These people are from all walks of life. They're from all different areas. They're people that have probably struggled in life, or their families have struggled in life, and they sort of weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They've had to battle for everything they had, and what you seen was what you got.
They keep knocking at my front door, putting letters in, would I sell my house? But where do I go when I sell my house? I mean, I'm quite happy to be there. The family actually want me to go into a nursing home, but no way. I'm a bit dubious with the eyes. That's the thing that's worrying me. I should be all right for a good while. But I've got no fault myself with the Pines.
Before I got married and moved away interstate, but ended up coming back here and getting involved. And I'm president, so I've moved and lived all around Australia, and I've always ended up connecting with people that are from the Pines, in the far-flung places like Broome, and even Aboriginal communities. I've bumped into people that have been, from the Pines. So, yeah, it was a great place to grow up, and once it's in your blood, it stays here.
The community's also given to me. They've given me a place of safety. They've given me a place to know that no matter what, I belong. And that's a big thing in this day and age, because a lot of neighbours don't know each other. You get neighbours in other areas, they don't know their neighbour, they don't come together as a community. Where here, I've put into the community, but they've given me back. Their family, and that is what the Pines community means to me, is family.
Through rain, through sunshine, through sorrow and care, we are linked together, our troubles to share. My home on the Pines is old and it's plain, yet a wealth of love its walls do contain.